Season 1 Reloaded of Warzone Reloaded has just gone live, and some of the major changes range from buffing ARs, nerfing LMGs, and buffing a handful of SMGs as well, but the swarm surprisingly remains untouched. So let's dive into the full patch notes. First of all, we can look at the new weapons that we have got in the game, the Covert LMG and the HRM9 SMG. I'm sure we'll see a lot of those to come in the game, but I can imagine they are just going to be quite powerful out of the gates, as most new weapons are, and we'll probably see some balancing down the line. So taking a look at the map changes that they've done. They've added a new variant on the Gulag, which is night vision Gulag. So basically you're going to enter the Gulag with night vision instead of just the standard vision that you've got. Everything else will be the same. It's just going to be a little bit different. But things like the Go Again Gulag and the Locked and Loaded Gulag will have a chance to appear as the night vision Gulag as well. But it is worth bearing in mind this is more of a rare and special occurrence, this specific type of Gulag, so don't expect it every single time. They've announced they've just polished the map overall by fixing around 50 mantle spots, 50 mounting spots, 150 areas affected by clipping, and 20 known exploitable areas, and then improved lighting in 43 different buildings. So some quite positive changes there. And looking at the weekly playlist changes, Plunder is back and everything else is relatively the same. You've still got solos, duos, and quads for Resurgence, but no trios. And then for Battle Royale, you've got solos, duos, trios, and quads. And you also still have the Lockdown Vondel quads. Now moving on to what we've all been waiting for, the weapon adjustments. The Holger 556 has seen quite a significant buff alongside the MCW as well, so imagine those coming towards the forefront of the meta. And looking at the M13B from Modern Warfare 2, that has been nerfed, though I'm not really sure why, because it wasn't really that viable anyway. And looking at the battle rifle, the BAS-B remains untouched, but the MTZ's 7.62 has been nerfed, which was probably needed with all the LMG changes. Talking about LMGs, the Bruin MK9, the DG LSW, the Palermo 7.62 with the Jack Annihilator bullpup kit, and the TAC Eradicator have all been nerfed. So I would say goodbye to the LMG meta. We're probably moving on to marksman rifles and assault rifles at this point in time, where I can imagine the Holger 556 and the MCW may look quite attractive going forwards. And on to the SMGs, the Swarm has remained untouched, but the AMR 9, the Rival 9 and the Striker 9 have all been buffed, which is some really positive changes, hopefully mixing up that meta a little bit more. But the ISO 9mm, the Modern Warfare 2 gun, has been nerfed. This is a reoccurring thing. Every single Modern Warfare 2 gun, the devs just don't like it to be the meta, so they nerf them into the ground to make them relatively unplayable in order for you to buy Modern Warfare 3. And looking at the sniper rifles, the Cat AMR has been slightly nerfed, though I don't feel like it's going to be overly that notable. I think the bullet velocity is probably going to be the most notable thing there, but overall, it's still going to be the only go-to sniper in the game. Whilst you might not see shotguns on that list, the Dragon's Breath rounds have been nerfed, so in turn, shotguns have also been nerfed, hopefully bringing a bit of an end to that slight shotgun meta we were seeing towards the end of this season. The .50 cal Spire rounds have been nerfed and buffed slightly, but I would mainly count it as a nerf because the bullet velocity's been nerfed, and that's for one of the sniper rifles. Then looking at a bunch of the lasers, some of them have been buffed and some of them have been nerfed, but they're really not in the meta at the moment. It's just not an attachment that you're running on any of the SMGs or sniper rifles. And again, another nerf to the sniper rifles, the XRK Nightfall Suppressor has also been nerfed. Again, the bullet velocity nerf overall to the Cat AMR will make the gun more difficult to use, which is probably good overall, but it is still definitely usable because the bullet velocity on it was so good anyway, so it just makes things a little bit more tricky. And moving on to gameplay, Champions Quest has been reintroduced to the game. That's basically the new contract, so you could go and earn those skins again, but it has been changed ever so slightly. You either need to win 5 consecutive matches in a row or 30 games within a season, making it far easier to actually get that contract and hopefully a lot more accessible to a lot more players. The rest of the stuff is all a bit of quality of life stuff, like the deployable buy stations. Basically, if you throw it on top of a load of loot, then that loot's going to disappear, so making the buy station a little bit more accessible. They've also changed some of the spawn stuff around black sites. Zip lines, they've been changed ever so slightly as well, but nothing really too notable. The underwater rebreather will hopefully become a little bit better to use, but I don't think they've gone far enough with this change. And vehicles will now respawn after being destroyed. And now moving on to perks, EOD will now clamp damage at 120, down from 150. And then quick fix, they fixed an issue preventing health regeneration to occur after inserting an armor plate. Bomb drones, their warning has been increased up to 14 meters from 6 meters, but there is also a bug that was attached with this down in the bugs below. I'm not going to run through those because there's just so many that they fixed, but now bomb drones will actually appear up on the minimap and your radars and your TAC map which it was meant to beforehand, and apparently this was a bug, but this is quite good because bomb drones are a bit of a pain in the backside, and now you can see them coming a long way away. Moving on to audio, I'm sure you'll all be glad to hear that they've said they've made improvements to the audio occlusion in Urzikstan, which will hopefully lead to better footstep audio in the game, as that tends to be the issue, as the audio occlusion tends to get in the way of things, whereas hopefully this has been sorted a little bit. Also, allied sounds have been reduced, so you'll be able to distinguish them between friendly and enemy behavior. And that's it for the Season 1 patch notes. As mentioned, there's a bunch of bug fixes as well, but I don't really want to bore you by running through every single little one of those because most of them are just stuff that you've probably not ran into before. But let me know down in the comment section below what you think the best changes are and what else you had wished they'd done as well. Personally, I wish some of the marksman rifles would have had a bit of a nerf as well, as I feel like they're probably going to reign supreme going forwards, and the MTZ Interceptor are probably going to be the top 2 guns in Warzone going forwards for the rest of this season, unless they nerf them pretty rapidly. But if you did enjoy this one and want to see more from me, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.